Fox 2. Good kill, good kill. Hey, good kill.
On the night of April 24th, 1980, a formation of C-130 Hercules aircraft sliced silently through the black void above eastern Iran. Their destination was an anonymous stretch of desert codenamed Desert 1. Their mission was one of the most daring and ambitious special operations in American military history. A rescue operation to extract 52 US hostages held in Tehran. The plan was intricate, risky, and fraught with uncertainty. But at the heart of it stood an aircraft not typically associated with elite covert missions, the Lockheed C-130 Hercules. The C-130, often dismissed as a workhorse cargo plane, was being asked to perform a mission that resembled something out of a Cold War thriller. This time, it wasn't hauling pallets or troops behind the front lines, it was penetrating deep into enemy territory. Flying at low altitudes to avoid radar, landing in total darkness on a makeshift airstrip, and serving as a launch pad for a hostage rescue mission deep in the Iranian capital. While the mission ultimately failed, ending in tragedy and political fallout, the performance of the C-130 Hercules redefined what tactical airlift could mean. The seeds of the mission were planted months earlier. On the 4th of November 1979, Iranian students stormed the US Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American citizens hostage. As the crisis dragged on into 1980, the Carter administration resolved to rescue the hostages by force. The plan, codenamed Operation Eagle Claw, would be one of the most ambitious special operations America had ever attempted. The concept of the mission was layered and complex. US Special Operations Forces would insert into Iran aboard C-130 aircraft, land in a remote desert location, Desert 1, refuel Marine helicopters flown in from the USS Nimitz, then fly together to a hide site outside Tehran. On the second night, the team would infiltrate the city, raid the embassy, extract the hostages, and flee to an airstrip where C-141 Starlifters would fly them out. Every step was dependent on timing, equipment reliability, and precise coordination between multiple military branches. The C-130s were tasked with the initial insertion. 3 MC-130E combat Talon aircraft, specifically modified for special operations, carried Delta Force commandos, Army Rangers, translators, and CIA personnel. These aircraft were designed for low-level, long-range infiltration, and were equipped with terrain-following radar and advanced navigation systems for the time. 5 EC-130Es acting as aerial fuel trucks followed behind, carrying enormous internal fuel bladders. These were crucial for refueling the RH-53D Sea Stallion helicopters that would carry the assault team to Tehran. The Hercules crews faced a daunting flight. Departing from Mazara Island off the coast of Oman, they would fly 1,000 miles across the Gulf of Oman and into the Iranian interior. They flew at low altitude, often below 500 feet, to avoid detection by Iranian radar. This required immense focus, especially at night. And in a pre-GPS era, navigation was accomplished using inertial navigation systems and paper maps. Turbulence, fatigue, and the ever-present danger of surface-to-air missiles made the journey harrowing. Their destination, Desert 1, was nothing more than a flat section of the desert. There were no runways, no lighting systems, and no margin for error. Combat controllers had infiltrated the site days earlier to install infrared beacons and chemical lights to guide the aircraft in. The landings had to be precise, silent, and completely blacked out. One mistake and one aircraft could overshoot, hit another plane, and be lost in the desert. Despite the difficulty, the C-130s landed flawlessly. One by one, they touched down on an improvised landing zone in the darkness. They began offloading equipment, setting up fuel lines, and preparing for the helicopters. Desert 1 came alive as a temporary forward operating base in the middle of nowhere, supported by nothing but the Hercules aircraft that carried it in. Vehicles, communication gear, fuel drums, and support personnel spread out and assumed their positions. It was a remarkable feat of precision and discipline. But it wasn't long before things started to go wrong. The plan depended on 8 RH-53D Sea Stallion helicopters making their way from the USS Nimitz to Desert 1. Only 6 arrived. One had turned back due to mechanical issues, another was caught in a sandstorm and returned to base. A third made it to Desert 1 but was found to have an inoperative hydraulic system. That left 5 helicopters, one short of the minimum required to complete the mission. A decision loomed. Should the mission proceed with too few helicopters, risking mission failure and hostage casualties? Or should it be aborted and risk exposing America's entire covert operation? Colonel Charlie Beckwith, commanding officer of Delta Force, recommended the latter. The operation was called off. Then, disaster struck. As the teams prepared to withdraw, one of the helicopters attempted to reposition in the blinding dust. Visibility was near zero. The RH-53 drifted into the path of a parked C-130, fully loaded with fuel. The helicopter's rotors clipped the aircraft's wing, triggering a massive explosion. Fire erupted immediately, engulfing both aircraft in flames. 5 Air Force crew members and 3 Marines were killed instantly. Several others were badly injured. The surviving C-130 crews worked quickly, loading the wounded and remaining operators into the aircraft. They lifted off into the night, leaving behind the burning wreckage, abandoned helicopters, and valuable equipment. The mission had not only failed, it had ended in death and exposed America's most secretive capabilities. Operation Eagle Claw was a public embarrassment. It was broadcast across the globe as a symbol of America's overreach. President Carter took full responsibility, but while the mission failed, the military took away critical lessons, many of which centered around the C-130's role. The Hercules had proven its worth in a combat environment few imagined it could endure. The aircraft flew more than 2,000 miles round trip into enemy territory, navigated without GPS through treacherous terrain, and executed precision landings under night. It delivered not only troops, but fuel, vehicles, and mission-critical equipment. And when things went wrong, it evacuated survivors. In the aftermath of Eagle Claw, a comprehensive review of U.S. Special Operations capabilities was undertaken. It revealed a lack of coordination among branches, inadequate joint training, and outdated equipment. As a result, the Department of Defense established the United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, in 1987, and the Air Force created Air Force Special Operations Command, AFSOC. These institutions prioritized joint integration, interoperability, and rapid deployment. New aircraft were also developed. The MC-130H Combat Talon II and later the MC-130J Commando II were designed with improved avionics, survivability systems, aerial refueling capabilities, and precision navigation. All these improvements stemmed directly from the challenges faced in Eagle Claw. Tactically, the operation demonstrated the potential of the C-130 in roles far beyond traditional transport. The Hercules showed it could be an airborne base, a fuel tanker, a special operations launch pad, and an evacuation platform. Its ability to land on unprepared surfaces, operate independently, and sustain operations in denied environments made it indispensable. The tragedy of Eagle Claw galvanized a new era of inter-service cooperation and operational planning. More rigorous rehearsals, greater emphasis on redundancy, and improvements in mission adaptability became the norm. Future rescue missions would be shaped around the lessons learned on the Iranian desert floor. Since 1980, C-130s have been at the center of countless operations. In Afghanistan and Iraq, they delivered special operations teams to remote valleys and exfiltrated casualties under fire. In Syria, they inserted covert units and resupplied them in unforgiving terrain. In Africa, they operated out of dirt roads and dry riverbeds to support counterterrorism missions. Each time, the DNA of Desert One was evident. In Colombia, C-130s supported anti-narcotics operations by transporting U.S. advisors and surveillance equipment to jungle airstrips. In the Philippines, they inserted joint special operations task forces to aid in fighting militants. In Libya, they helped extract embassy personnel during the collapse of the central government. Each mission, different in geography and context, relied on the C-130's flexibility. The aircraft's legacy goes beyond special operations. The C-130 was adapted to drop the Massive Ordnance Air Blast, or MOAB, the largest conventional bomb ever used by the US military. On the 13th of April 2017, a C-130 dropped a MOAB on an ISIS tunnel network in Afghanistan. The blast was felt miles away, and that aircraft, originally built in the 1950s, could be adapted to deliver strategic payloads in the 21st century, speaks to its versatility. Yet, for all of its upgrades and adaptations, the soul of the Hercules remains rooted in missions like Eagle Claw. When operators fly into danger today, the aircraft that carries them owes its legacy to that night in the Iranian desert. Moreover, Desert One became more than a failed operation. It became a training ground. The Air Force and Army re-examined how to communicate across branches, coordinate movement between aircraft and ground forces, and plan joint missions. The disaster underscored the need for dedicated units familiar with unconventional warfare and deep penetration insertions. This became a pillar of the US Special Operations community. Today, when a C-130 lands on a dirt road in Somalia or a remote valley in northern Iraq, its crew apply the same tactical knowledge tested at Desert 1. Night flying under NVGs, landing without lights, navigating with backup systems, and unloading troops in minutes, all trace their lineage to that dusty patch of Iranian desert. The aircraft's reliability and tactical flexibility continue to make it indispensable. Few platforms can fly low and slow, loiter, provide support, land on short or damaged runways, and adapt for gunships, surveillance, refueling, or medevac roles. The Hercules is often the first in and the last out. Operation Eagle Claw is a case study in failure, but also in resilience. It shows what happens when planning falters, but also what can be accomplished with courage and improvisation. And it proved that the C-130 Hercules, often overshadowed by more glamorous aircraft, could rise to the occasion when history demanded it. In a world of stealth fighters and hypersonic missiles, the C-130 remains a symbol of tactical utility. It lands where no one else can, it carries what no one else will, it gets the job done, quietly and often at the edge of the map. On that night in 1980, it flew into darkness, carried America's best into danger, and brought many of them back. The ghosts in the desert may have left wreckage and fire behind, but the Hercules left something else, a new blueprint for special operations. It did not win the mission, but it helped rewrite the doctrine that would, and it's been doing so ever since.